In this episode of Built to Last, we're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to find out where the Smithfield Street Bridge is built to last. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a city situated where the Monongahela and the Allegheny rivers join to form the Ohio River. With these three major rivers to cross, Pittsburgh has naturally become the city of bridges. Pittsburgh boasts 446 bridges, but it's the oldest bridge in Pittsburgh as well as the oldest crossing of the Monongahela River that captured my interest in built-to-last infrastructure. The Smithfield Street Bridge is as unique and beautiful as it is long-serving. The story of bridges crossing at Smithfield Street dates all the way back to 1818, when a multiple-span wooden-covered bridge was built across the Monongahela River. The Monongahela Bridge. A massive 1845 fire in Pittsburgh destroyed not only the Monongahela Bridge, but significant portions of the city. Enter one of our built-to-last legends, John Roebling. Roebling built his first suspension bridge here in 1846, reusing the piers and abutments of the wooden bridge to become the next iteration of the Monongahela Bridge. However, by the early 1880s, Roebling's bridge just didn't have the strength necessary to carry the increasing traffic in the bustling steel city. It was time for a bridge constructed with Pittsburgh steel. Steel's reputation as a structural member had been forged in the revolutionary Eads Bridge, completed just 6 years earlier in St. Louis. Now, Eads Bridge was made by Pittsburgh's own Keystone Bridge Company, and Keystone's engineers have been innovating with steel ever since. One of Keystone's brightest engineers was Gustav Lindenthal, an immigrant from Czechoslovakia. In 1881, Lindenthal left Keystone and formed his own Pittsburgh-based consulting company and promptly landed the design contract for the new Monongahela Bridge. This being the only crossing of the Monongahela River at this time, the bridge company's specifications called for a new span that would be constructed while keeping Roebling's bridge in service. Ingeniously, Lindenthal came up with a plan to construct a truss bridge 20 feet above the Roebling suspension bridge. In a project of extraordinary complexity, the new bridge, to be called the Smithfield Street Bridge, was constructed around the Monongahela Bridge, and Lindenthal chose a lenticular truss, combining the capabilities of an arch along with the flexibility of a suspension bridge. The arch and suspension spans work to counterbalance each other without the need for tall towers, and thus making the two 360-foot main spans possible with an all-steel construction. All steel, showcasing the hometown material. Lindenthal's all-steel Smithfield Street Bridge opened in 1883. The lenticular truss is a thing of sweeping beauty, then capped with impressive entry portals on both ends. The pride and craftsmanship of the 19th century engineer is amazing. I feel like today's engineers and the communities they serve don't see our massive public works projects as the prideful accomplishments that they really are. Massive infrastructure is just another project to get done. We've forgotten that it's this infrastructure that makes our civilization possible. I get it that pride, beauty, and craftsmanship is hard to do in an era when the cheapest functional project is the goal. But I think those same low budgets drive our works towards short lives. My goal here is to highlight that beauty, pride, and craftsmanship actually cost less in the long run. Let's bring back some of that 19th century swagger. The bridge saw increasing traffic as Pittsburgh continued to develop. And seeing how the previous bridge had only lasted 37 years, Lindenthal included space for expansion in that original design. In 1891, Lindenthal was called back to oversee the addition of a third truss, permitting the bridge to be widened for an additional lane of travel. The opening of a tunnel through Mount Washington in 1906 to the south increased vehicular and trolley traffic across the bridge again, calling for another expansion. Though Lindenthal was gone, in 1911 his abutments and piers were strong enough and wide enough for the bridge to be again widened as the upstream span was shifted to bring the total bridge to a 48-foot width, up from the original 23 feet. By the 1930s, traffic on the bridge had increased in weight and volume, and another renovation was called for by engineers. In a heady move, the deck of the bridge was replaced with lighter aluminum. And then further innovation in aluminum materials permitted another deck replacement as part of a major overhaul in 1967. A $20 million renovation of the bridge was again completed in 1994 that restored the bridge to its original color scheme and has situated this iconic structure to serve Pittsburgh far out into the future. The Smithfield Street Bridge's long life has earned it many of the oldest type distinctions: oldest bridge in the Monongahela, oldest in Allegheny County, and the oldest through truss in the United States. The genesis of Smithfield's longevity issues from Gustav Lindenthal's 19th century know-how that aimed into an unknown future. Extra wide piers and abutments were smart upfront investments by the bridge company. Along the way, maintenance efforts by the Monongahela Bridge Company, City of Pittsburgh, and PennDOT reinvested in the bridge, retrofitting it with modern materials that kept this elegant infrastructure in service. And that's the key we see here with the Smithfield Street Bridge. A thoughtful design that works not only for the 1880 present, elegantly built and dutifully maintained with an aim at the future. Those investments have clearly paid off many times over for Pittsburghers. The Smithfield Street Bridge stands as a lesson in how to do infrastructure the right way. The Smithfield Street Bridge has endured 142 years to become the oldest bridge in the City of Bridges. And I think it's safe to say that the Smithfield Street Bridge is, in fact, built to last.